Hello, welcome to today's webinar, Designing High-Performance Compostable Coffee Capsules with Ingeo for the European Market, hosted by NatureWorks. I'm Leah Ford. I run Global Marketing Communications for NatureWorks, and I'll be today's moderator. A few housekeeping items to get us started. First, at the right of your screen, you should see a questions panel. Feel free to submit questions at any time throughout today's webinar. We do have a few NatureWorks people on standby to answer questions if you run into any technical difficulties. Otherwise, we'll hold all the questions to the end when we have a Q&A session with today's speakers. This video is also being recorded, so we're going to post it to our YouTube channel once we're done so that you can watch it later or share it with colleagues that were unable to attend today. Also, at the end of this webinar, we're going to be sending out an email with a link to today's slides and a survey that we hope you'll take to give us some feedback on how today's webinar went for you. And with that, I think I'm ready to introduce today's speakers. So first up will be Flavio de Marcotullio, who's our Global Industry Manager for single-serve beverages and compostable films at NatureWorks. And we also have Viviana Conti, who's an Applications Development Engineer for NatureWorks, focused on flexible and rigid packaging applications, including compostable coffee capsules. So with that, Flavio, I think you can take it away.
Thank you very much, Leah, and good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I see already 100 people connected. So first of all, let me thank everybody for taking their time today and listening to us. As you know, this is not the first webinar we have done in coffee, but we have been really working a lot on this one. So really hope that you will like the content. I will try to be quick and keep it short because I think Vivi will have something really interesting to share with you. And I would like to start then with the presentation. And Vivi, can I kindly ask you to please pull up the slide deck? And then I will also ask you, Vivi, to... Yeah, thanks. Perfect. Yeah, if you want to move to the first slide, we can really kick off. Excellent. Thank you very much. So NatureWorks has been leading the biopolymer market for over 20 years. And during this time, we have been not just manufacturing, but developing applications. So the market you see represented here in this slide have been evolving and adjusting to new demanding needs. Coffee and tea bags, as you can see, is one of the selected markets where NatureWorks decided to focus, given the undoubted advantage Ingeo PLA brings. So again, today, let's talk about coffee. And Baby, if you can move to the next slide, please. Perfect. So let's first of all analyze the global market in figures. Today, the global market is, I would say, 75% polypropylene, which is in a way the material of choice, but is followed by other two growing alternatives, aluminum and bioplastics. So coffee brands are trying to understand which material can be sustainable in the long run, investing therefore resources and money in end-of-life initiatives that include composting with organic waste bin, as you can see here, recycling with plastics, or even some ad hoc take-back programs. Next slide, please, Baby. Thanks. So, but if we carefully observe this market, we'll notice that there is a common element that we keep sometimes forgetting, and it's all about the coffee. It's coffee. Next. And as we are speaking today of capsules, it's important to keep in mind that coffee contents can actually be up to 5 times the total capsule weight. So my question is, how can we even think about not recovering entirely, and not just 20% or 40%, I'm saying entirely, that valuable spent coffee that we leave behind every single time we drink a nice coffee from a convenient capsule? How can we make sure that recycling hurdles won't stop us from recovering that unique nutrients, coffee? Thanks, Vivi. Next, please. Well, and the answer to me is only one, and it's an easy one. It's called compost. And it's the only and simple, elegant way to make sure that the spent coffee goes back to the soil. So what is compost? Compost is stabilized organic residue used in arable soils to improve fertility through increasing soil organic matter contents. I think it sounds pretty nice. Next, please. And so what does a fertile soil means? Well, it has an uncountable positive aspects. Plants absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and stabilize it in the soil. By doing so, soils can indeed offset the greenhouse gas emission, and compost can therefore be a key element to allow and enhance such offset. So that's the reason why NatureWorks is committed to develop performing compostable capsules. And we want to provide solutions that help the industry overcome such challenges. Next, please. So, but the environmental benefits is only one of the elements. We at NatureWorks have been focusing on the taste experience, for example, and made sure that Ingeo biopolymer would perform well in any selected brewing system and was able to deliver the ideal cup of coffee, offering an extended shelf life to roasters. So this means that the system had to be safe from all points of view. And for this, sorry, I had a pop-up window. And for this, we eliminated the risk of migration into the brewed coffee. So finally, we made sure the Ingeo-based capsule met worldwide compostable standards. Next slide, please, Vivi. So Ingeo has added the privilege, privilege to be at the core of most of the compostable capsule and tea bags developments. Today, you can find Ingeo in both soft and rigid formats, spanning from tea bags, coffee pads, coffee pods, capsule body, lidding material, and fiber filters. If you want to move to the next one, thanks, Vivi. So, but what do we do? What NatureWorks does? So we manufacture the Ingeo biopolymer, and we are actively engaged with multiple partners to develop together with them performing solution for the food industry. In coffee, we proactively engage with roasters and brands to understand their needs and offer them what we call turnkey solutions. Next. So this is just a few slides, basically to explain you the different route to market and elements needed to make sure that the capsule performs in line with roasters' expectations. Here, you all know that depending on the system, you basically have these three elements: capsule body, lidding, and filter. But there is also a key element, which is the assembling and filling step, where, again, an assembling and filling line is used. And all of these have to cooperate beautifully together and make sure that the result is what roasters and brands are looking for. So here is, again, very quickly, an idea of the different routes, as I was saying, to a capsules that you have when you're using Ingeo biopolymer. I'm not going today into these details. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions regarding this, but I can clearly say that NatureWorks has been more focusing on a sheet extrusion and thermoforming step when it comes to the capsule body. This is because we believe that Ingeo brings most of its advantages when it's used in this step, in this conversion step. And then you can see, again, you can read those yourself, all the different options that we actually have to make this lidding. Again, I think what is beautiful here is that Ingeo can be used in so many different elements and with so many different converting steps, which make it really unique in these terms. Next slide, please, Vivi. And so I'll be concluding now, but I want to reinforce a message that you have already heard, and because this is really the results of a successful and long-lasting collaboration with one of our key partners, Flo, a very well-known integrated thermoforming company. And today, Flo is offering a family of thermoform barrier compostable and NGO-based capsules, focusing primarily on the European market, but lately also they developed a keycap compatible compostable solution. So thanks to what Flo and NatureWorks have been doing recently, the solution is already on shelves, and this is again another example that has been adopted by a key Italian roaster, Covim, who over, I think, more than 1 year ago launched their NGO-based compostable capsule in the Italian market, and today it's available at main national retailers. So, concluding, we really have a strong belief that performance and sustainability can coexist without any compromise. And we really think that NGO-based capsules are already available today, and we'll be happy to answer any inquiry that people have and make sure that we can work together to improve this even more. So that was my last slide, Vivi. I will turn that to you. I will mute myself. And thanks for your help today.
Thank you, Flavio. I will take it back. So, and let's move on. Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. Let's have a deeper understanding of the Ingeo solution in the coffee space. And looking on the components that already shared Flavio before in his presentation, different capsule design, different components. Ingeo basically perform in the film leading, for example, with a multi-layer structure for barrier and non-barrier solution. In the fiber filters, were non-woven with customer basis weight, and in the capsule for high and low pressure system with both barrier and non-barrier solution. Focusing right now our attention in the Ingeo capsule body for high pressure system, for barrier solution, and using the thermoforming process. And I will start with probably one of the most important requirements of a coffee capsules: maintain consistent taste experience. How we do that? We need to work on the oxygen transmission through the rigid body. And how is the solution here is a new Ingeo barrier sheet structure, where is a multi-layer, where the outside layer are made by Ingeo, and the inner layer is a bilayer layer produced by MCPP Europe G polymer that gives you the right oxygen barrier. And we basically measure the oxygen transmission rate compared with the incumbent material, that is a PP, AVOH PP. As you see here, the graphic shows you the value of the oxygen transmission of a PP AVOH PP sheet, that is the gray bar, compared to the blue bar, that is the Ingeo sheet. We've made different oxygen analysis with different temperature and different condition and relative humidity. What are the results? Basically, the oxygen barrier of Ingeo is in line with the incumbent PP structure, and there is no need basically for secondary packaging. So this solution is work perfectly for a self-protected coffee capsules. But now, how we can correlate this oxygen value with the shelf life, the real shelf life of coffee, the coffee basically. And this is a shelf life study made on a commercial product produced by Flo, on a commercial coffee capsules, using Ingeo multi-layer structure that shows really that organoleptics didn't change significantly after 12 months. And this study was made by and approved by the Academy, the Italian Academy Expert of Coffee, where basically they tested, they did panel tests, they tested each month some parameters, and at the end they define, and the results was perfectly in line. After 12 months, the shelf life was the same as the month number 1. But going a little bit and considering not only the material, but considering the thermoforming process, that is really a key element working with high Ingeo grades, and NatureWorks has the capability in-house to scaling up new process improvement and support our customer and our partners to basically understand the process, how we can crystallize in the thermoforming process the high heat Ingeo grades, working on the formulation and tailored solution, Ingeo solution for customer specifications. And here it's a little bit more detail how we meet product specification. By tuning impact strength and heat resistance. In the first graphic, you can see a comparison between material that are crystallized and material that are amorphous, especially PLA crystallized, the orange one, and the green one is amorphous PLA. As you see here in the graphic, the amorphous PLA has lower heat resistant temperature. But once you crystallize during the thermoforming process, the temperature, the heat resistance, it's much higher. It's from 100 till 150. It's much higher. And more than that, you can also tuning and adjusting the crystallinity level to basically move and to basically change the strength properties of the capsule body. In which way? In the other graphic, there is a comparison between another Ingeo high heat resistant grade that is 4032D, and we show here two different the crystalline material 4032D that was crystallized in the thermoforming process, and the same formulation with the amorphous one. As you see, the impact strength of the crystallized sheet is much higher than the amorphous one. And then, of course, increasing the impact modifier loading, then you can achieve higher strength properties. But really, that tells you how important is select the proper formulation at the right process condition during thermoforming. And this allows us really to match the thermal properties of the Ingeo and the mechanicals. And another tool, NatureWorks tool that really is really interesting is a predictive modeling, and is basically a modeling software that simulates conversion processes and final product performances. Just because predicting material distribution is very critical, especially in the thermoforming process, to finding the balance of the process and the final part properties. Each capsule is unique and requires specific material properties and material distribution. With this predictive modeling, NatureWorks can help basically our customer partners to reduce interaction of costly mold and cavity development and accelerate design process to meet product specification. And I want to show you, and talking about really Ingeo high performance capsules, Flo has developed a thermoformed coffee capsules that was certified and is certified compostable, is a multi-layer structure, so as we saw before, has a perfect shelf life up to 12 months, so is a self-protected solution. There is no need for a secondary packaging, and is a thermoformed capsule. And I want to go a little bit deeper in this, because Flo has developed a structure and engineered the capsule in order to achieve an outlayer. First of all, an outlayer that is made on Ingeo, modified Ingeo, to obtain a flexible layer. This flexible layer allows an excellent leakage seal. Who is familiar with an espresso capsules knows very, very, very well how challenging is it to achieve a perfect leakage seal. So this flexible layer allowed to obtain the perfect leakage seal that we are looking for. The middle layer is a barrier layer for extended shelf life, as we already discussed. And the rigid layer is an Ingeo rigid layer, is really designed to get high thermal and pressure resistance. But I want to also explain why the thermoforming process is also unique in a certain way, is because starting from an extruded sheet Ingeo G polymer, Ingeo, you can really thermoform the final part and you obtain the ideal distribution of the G polymer, that is the barrier layer. It's consistent in each point, and this allows you to maintain the consistency, the shelf life month by month. Of course, with the same concept and with the same process, Flow is able to supply other multiple formats for both Europe and North America systems. So, but to summarize, what are the performance of Ingeo solution? We focus our solution on the food safe. Ingeo eliminate use of other polymers which bring associated migration concern. For example, THF concern is one of the biggest concern of the coffee capsule market. Talking about the resistance on high temperature and high pressure, Ingeo high heat grade with the thermoforming process gives a unique solution, and also you have no aging effect. It's very important because during time, the properties and the mechanical properties doesn't change. You will have and you will maintain the properties after 1, 2, 3 years. I mean, and this is really, really very, very important. Regarding the barrier, fully adjustable up to 12 months with barrier layer. And as we saw before, talking about the process and how we balance mechanical properties with the process, we can tailor really the properties to deliver an ideal cup of coffee. But let's start and focus on the key components to brew an espresso capsule. Now I spoke a little bit about the process, our capabilities, the material, the engineered Ingeo formulation. Let's focus on the coffee, on the espresso. And the key component of a fantastic and great brewing is, of course, the leading, is the body, is the coffee, for sure, and is the machine, the brewing machine. And all these elements needs to work perfectly together like a puzzle. I mean, every component should perfectly work with the other components, like, as I said, a puzzle. And how we measure and how we evaluate the interaction between each component, how we can understand what is the components that can bring a final or that can achieve a great brewing results. And here NatureWorks developed a data acquisition system, and I will show briefly a video presentation on this data acquisition system. Okay, so NatureWorks developed this data acquisition system basically to help our partners to find the right combination of lead, coffee, machine, and capsule, and understand better how and where we need to modify it and find the right combination. And before explaining a study that we've made with the data acquisition system, just a short overview on how the Nespresso machine works. We have the first step is the insertion of the capsule. Then we have the puncturing. So we have needles that puncture the bottom of the capsule. And then we have the brewing step. Pump starts, watering comes, capsule expand, and bottom lid get pierced. Before, I want also to explain a little bit more about the brewing pressure and brewing time. These two parameters are key to achieve a good espresso, especially a good extraction of the coffee. And here is a summary of a study or evaluation and analysis that we've made with the data acquisition system on current coffee capsules on the market. And as you see, we have different results because some of the capsules are really, we measure the pressure and the time to brew, are really under-extracted. So the extraction of the coffee was really not ideal. Other capsules was really over-extracted. So really the coffee was too dark and so the extraction was very, very high. But it's important to really understand that the brewing pressure consistency is one of the key factors of a high quality of espresso. So, and taking this into this consideration, we've made a study really to understand what happens when we modify one of the elements. We know that the brewing is a combination of lead, body, coffee, and machine. Well, let's fix the three elements, the body, and we've made this study with the capsules produced from flow. Coffee, we put and we filled a fixed quantity, 5.5 gram, and we use the Pixie model Nespresso machine. And then we analyzed the impact of three different leads. Changing the lead, what are the final brewing results? So this is a first graph, and what are the parameters that we can measure with the data acquisition system? First of all is the pressure that is measured in bar. Then is the grammage and the weight of the coffee and the leakage. So how much the water loss of the system during brewing and after the release of the capsule. And I will show you the results of this first data. As you see, we have the gray line, that is the line of the pressure. We have the pressure goes up, and of course we have that area, the lid piercing, and then we have another area where we call it brewing pressure consistency. That area during the brewing is very important that the pressure remain constant and consistency. In this case, for example, the pressure was around 12 bar. Then we have the blue line. The blue line is measured the quantity of the coffee brewed compared with the time. And then we have the last one, the orange line, that is the leakage. So ideal, a good system, a good capsules needs to achieve 0 gram in terms of leakage. Here it's a quite good value because it's 0.2, but was very nice, was a very nice level of leakage. Well, let's change the lid. So we maintain everything else is constant, so the body, the coffee, and the machine, and we change the lid. Just changing the lid, here is we have completely different results. We have, first of all, a higher pressure, and second, it's the leakage, the level of the leakage. As you can see here, the level of the leakage is very high. Means that the capsule, we have during the brewing some loss of water, and not only during the brewing, but also after releasing the capsule. And let's see the third lid. As you can see, also here we have different results. We have a pressure from 16 to 18, more or less. The leakage is quite good. So what are the conclusions? The conclusion is that if we compare the pressure, if we really compare the line, we see that the orange one is over-extracted. So the pressure of this combination was really high. The blue line, that was the lid B, was under-extracted because the system was probably the lid was not able to to maintain higher the pressure. So basically you had an under-extracted coffee. The lid C show us an ideal extraction and just working with one element. How different and how the data can be really different. So again, what's happened when we modify one of the elements would be a possibility, of course, is changing the quantity of the coffee. What if we maintain the same lid, the same body, and the same machine, and just changing the quantity of the coffee? What will be the results? And the same, you can do that, of course, changing the body capsule, and understand really the behavior of the final results. This is for NatureWorks, and I think for all the coffee capsule space, market, is really important to understand that is very critical, and it's not only developing just one perfect element. You can have a perfect elements, but if just one element doesn't work very well, the final results of the system, because this is basically a system, doesn't work. So it's really important that all the supply chain partner works closely together. It's very important to understand what are the elements that can achieve a good result, but also that can influence in a negative way the final brewing results. Thanks for listening. Hopefully it was interesting, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Vivi. Leah, maybe, yeah, we can stop sharing this, and we will now, thanks. And we will now focus on questions, right, Leah?
Absolutely, we will. So, no, thanks to you both. That was a great presentation. So it's fun to see the new data that's coming out of the DAC system for sure. So we've gotten a ton of questions, lots of things about performance and compostability as well, unsurprisingly. So let's dig into some of the questions. So we'll start with the one that was upvoted the most, and that's about compostable EN 13432. So after consuming the capsule, is it allowed to put it directly into the compost bin, like the brown bin in Germany?
So yeah, it's sometimes easier to answer specific questions, like is it allowed in Germany or in some specific country or even region, than giving you a broad answer. I wish there was today a common understanding and approach to not just to composting, but even to recycling. So regarding first of all Germany, let me first say that it is up to composters to accept that yes or no. So there are indeed composters that accept compostable capsules in their bins. So it depends. Unfortunately, again, it's not a black or white answer. Worldwide, our material is covered by EN 13432 in Europe, and it's covered by the ASTM standards in the US, and it's also covered by the Australian standard. I know, Leah, there was a question before that was asking what did I refer to when I was talking about global standards. When I refer to global standards, I have in mind the main markets where coffee capsules have emerged, and so that's Europe, that's North America, and to some extent Australia. And so if we look at these three markets, the only really today widely accepted composting standard is the industrial composting, which in Europe, as you know, is the 13432.
Excellent. We've also received a question about home compostability and how Ingeo-based coffee capsules can work in home composting. Do you want to comment on that too?
I'll try. Yeah, and I was expecting this question, so I think it's always important to cover and to be as clear as possible. So we are for sure evaluating different environments for home composting. As home composting compared to industrial composting is not a unique environment, as temps and condition can change quite a lot from region to region, and sometimes also even from place to place. So that's adding for sure an increased challenge. And what we want to make sure is that if our products are certified to whatever standard, then we are sure that those products will work regardless, let's say, those changing conditions. So we are definitely interested in looking at home compostability. Today, when I was presenting, for example, the capsules developed by Flo, I was referring to industrial composting. Same I was doing when I was referring to the soil and the fact that that the compost organized in a good way can really be an important can give an important help to soil.
Excellent. Perfect. Vivi, for you, there's a question on, does the DAC system just work with the Pixie Nespresso brewer, or is it available for additional systems?
It's also available for additional system. I mean, now we focus the study with the Pixie because it's one of the most used in the market, but of course we have the expertise to develop the DAC system also with other platform or model of Nespresso.
Excellent. And on shelf life, is 12 months an agreed acceptable shelf life by coffee brands? Or if not, what is the longest shelf life that an Ingeo capsule can meet?
That's a great question, very challenging. I mean, shelf life of the coffee, of course, is depending on many factors. Type of coffee, I mean, how the barrier of the capsules, and it's not easy to define what is really the shelf life of the coffee, because most of the time you need to make panel tests and really understand by when the organoleptics are changing. So that's why we've shared the study approved by the Italian Academy of Expert of Coffee, because it's really not easy to define what is the real shelf life of a coffee capsules. And again, we approve our Ingeo solution on that specific case to have a shelf life of 12 months. More than that is really a challenge, I think. But it's in theory and in practical, we need to study the real shelf life once we have the coffee and the capsules and filled in a temperature ambient in a real condition. So after month by month, the roaster should evaluate the final taste of the coffee and evaluate if the shelf life is okay or not okay. Because really the parameters that influence the shelf life are really many, and it's not easy just with the value of an oxygen barrier define the shelf life, the ideal shelf life of that specific coffee.
Okay, excellent. There's a good question asking about it's not only the weight of the coffee in the capsule, but it's not only the weight of the coffee in the capsule, but are the coffee particles in the size distribution, like fine versus coarse particles? How do those influence the brewing quality?
That is also a very important part. That's why it's important. I mean, the study shows us really how it's important also to collaborate with a roaster that have the knowledge. We have the knowledge on the material, of course. We are not coffee experts. We try to do our best, but of course we are not coffee experts. But we know though that the coffee, the type of coffee, the grinding, the size of the coffee is really changing, can really change the pressure that you feel during the filling step. How is the pressure that you put into the capsule can really influence the brewing results. So that's why it's very important that each part collaborate together to define the right combination.
Excellent. Okay. And could you clarify, in the lid, the tie layer and the barrier layer, are they all based in Ingeo or are they made up of other polymers?
In the lid, there is a multi-layer structure. So basically, there is an out layer that is made by paper or cellulose-based film, and then there is normally the inner layer that is Ingeo-based, because is the sealing layer that has to seal in an Ingeo capsule. So that is the part that normally is made by Ingeo.
Okay. And is there any experience with adding micro antibial batches to other PLA applications? The antibacterial?
Not from our knowledge. Yeah.
No problem. Excellent. Okay. And just scrolling through the additional questions here. My goodness, we got a lot. There was also a question about composting the capsule lids. And it says, what about composting of the capsule lids? Those compost just as well as the capsule body?
So, Leah, just to make sure I understood this question, the question was if lidding is compostable or
yes.
How that behaves. Yeah. So, yeah, first of all, important to say that when you test a capsule, in that case, we mean really the full element, which means lidding, filter, if it's needed, and so forth. So when a brand puts a capsule in the market, that capsule has been tested according to the standard, and will need to be, of course, also indicated on the label which standard has been used, and of course all the elements have to meet the standards, meaning that indeed the lid will be compostable, and the filter as well.
Okay. And there are a couple of questions asking about identification. So how would a consumer know if something is compostable, home or industrial, or can other markers be used to highlight or to label products so that we know what type of waste stream it should go into?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a very good question. And I think, as I was referring before very quickly, the right message, and so giving right indication to the consumer is key to avoid that the consumer will get lost. We have seen in the market today talking about recycling, as I was saying before, recycling with aluminum, recycling with plastic, and with composting you even have different streams. So the consumer and the brand, actually the brand will inform the consumer by putting labels that are recognized both at national level, but also at, for example, European or even outside Europe, in the US or in Australia, as I was referring to before. So labeling is the answer.
Excellent. Yes, it is. We have a couple more questions on the DAC system here for you, Vivi. So one question wants to know is, do you need to purchase a separate DAC system to use a different brewer, or can you buy one unit and easily swap out the brewers on the user's end? And also, is the DAC system available for purchase? Oh, I think you're on mute, Vivi.
Yeah, maybe unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry. So regarding the first question, no, once you fix it in one machine, I mean that's we cannot swap to another machines, but it's easy to do that. I mean, it's Regarding if it, this is our internal capabilities of NatureWorks. So it's, we developed by our own with our experts. It's not available to sell it. Yeah.
Perfect. There's also a question here that says, what is the chemical nature of the thermolacquer to seal lid to body capsule? Could you just talk about sealing a little bit?
Is a heat sealing. There is no lacquers. I think that the question is coming to the fact that in the incumbent material in the aluminium is using a lacquer as a sealing lacquer. Here is not the case. Basically the lidding is made by a sealing layer that could be Ingeo, but could be also made by other compostable biomaterial that basically sealed directly on the Ingeo capsule without using any lacquer.
Excellent. All right. I think we've gotten through most of today's questions. So thank you to you both for your time today and the presentation. As I noted earlier, this webinar is recorded and we're going to post it to our YouTube channel for viewing. And everybody who attended today's webinar should get an email shortly with a link to the slides, as well as a survey to let us know how you enjoyed today's webinar. On that note, thanks to you both. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you,
Leah. And thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.